For many in India, the elections are a referendum on this man, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Modi came to power in 2014 after a landslide victory. But this time round, things might not be as clear-cut. Although polls suggest the fiercely nationalist Modi will hold on to the premiership, the main opposition party, led by Rahul Gandhi, is in the ascendancy. After a disastrous general election result 5 years ago, Gandhi's Congress party was jubilant recently after winning back 3 key states from Modi's BJP in regional elections. And they have promised to prioritise the single biggest issue for voters, the lack of jobs.
In this country, in every state, young people are searching for jobs. Wherever you go and ask a young person what they're doing, they reply, "I'm not doing anything."
It's a giant challenge. While the Indian economy has gathered strength under Modi, it has struggled to generate enough jobs, especially for the country's young people. More than half of Indians are aged 25 or under, and some 12 million enter the workforce each year. The recent spike in tensions between India and Pakistan in Kashmir, however, has put another issue on the agenda: national security. And that may well play into the hands of Narendra Modi and his Hindu nationalists. The Prime Minister has styled himself as the watchman, protecting his country by being strong on defence, tough on terror.
India will no longer be helpless in the wake of terror. This is a new India. This is an India that will return the damage done by terrorists with interest.
If the pull of nationalism proves strong enough in this election, Modi's supporters may well be celebrating come the 23rd of May.
Sonia, tell us, how much of a factor is Hindu nationalism, which of course is the party of the Prime Minister? It's a Hindu nationalist party, ostensibly. How important is that as a factor in this election?
Well, it's certainly a big factor. You know, Modi and his party have really deftly mixed nationalism and patriotism to make national security really the #1 issue in this election campaign. You know, on the campaign trail, Modi has really, in his speeches, thundered against Pakistan. He's made reference to this unprecedented aerial strike against Pakistan and sacrifices of Indian soldiers. He's attacked the opposition for being too soft on terrorism. And all this, I think, has played really well to a receptive domestic audience here in India, who feel that this tough action in Pakistan has really made India, you know, stand tall on the world stage.
What about the opposition Congress party and its leader, Rahul Gandhi? What do they want to achieve in the coming weeks?
Well, so the Congress is definitely hoping to, you know, mount a formidable challenge to Modi and his BJP party. But electorally, you know, analysts here are questioning the Congress's strategy, because they have really decided to strike out on their own and not form alliances with parties that have come together in opposition to Modi. So I think there is a danger here that the anti-BJP vote could be fragmented and split. So I think it remains to be seen whether the Congress's alternative narrative will really gain traction in the coming weeks.
DW's Sanya Farnaker there in Delhi. Thank you very much. Well, in the countdown to the election, political parties have saturated social media with last-minute campaigning. Like anywhere else in the world, these platforms are not immune to the menace of fake news.
Ramshankar Rai spends at least 2 hours a day going through election news on social media. The shopkeeper says he almost always believes what he sees.
When I watch news, I obviously consider it to be true. News is so popular in India. How can I think it's false?
It's a view that sums up a growing problem in India. Technology experts say many users aren't able to identify misinformation on the internet.
These are people who may be getting onto the internet and may not be very sophisticated users to have the social knowledge of knowing just because it's on a screen does not mean it's true.
Prime Minister Modi's BJP party and the opposition Congress party sent messages to millions of followers on social media. But the user base is eager market for unverified content critical of politicians. India has 300 million Facebook users, more than any other country in the world, meaning fake news has the potential to spread like wildfire. India's Election Commission has now told Facebook to tighten its oversight.
One of the things that I've learned through working on election integrity is that it is an adversarial space. What that means is that we will always see adaptation, we will always see new threats emerge.
Despite efforts by the social media giant, one former election commissioner thinks fake news could have a big impact at the ballot box.
The potential of mischief, of the subversion of the process of elections represented by social media is immense. And in certain constituencies, it would play a very significant role and might be used to determine the outcome of the election. Yeah.
And the fallout from that is just as unpredictable as the Indian election itself.
900 million people are eligible to cast their vote, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party put as favorites. He was swept into power in 2014 on promises of more jobs and a stronger economy. But his time in office has had its shares of blemishes. GDP growth has indeed been strong in India. In 2018, the country's gross domestic product grew by 7.3%, making India the fastest growing economy in the world. However, it is not creating enough jobs. Unemployment currently stands at 7.1%, the highest level in years. Providing jobs is the utmost importance in India as the population is growing fast. It's nearly 1.4 billion, and that number is growing by 15 million every day. Now, the Prime Minister's attempts to further prop up the economy have been hampered by what many call two self-inflicted problems.
Chaos at banks across India as almost all paper money is rendered worthless. 2 years ago, Prime Minister Narendra Modi stripped 501,000 rupee notes of their value, leaving millions of Indians without their savings. It was meant to tackle money laundering, but lives and businesses were disrupted. This textile factory in Tamil Nadu had to close for nearly 3 weeks. Its CEO is still angry.
The government should have educated the common people to understand the policies. After that, they should have implemented.
The Modi administration didn't just cancel common notes. It also took months to replace them. And then it introduced a new tax on goods and services known as GST. Experts say it was necessary. Many complained of a haphazard rollout. It was a double whammy for small businesses. We used to have a lot of clients, at least 200 to 300 in a city. It was all in cash and we were doing well. After the notes were cancelled and GST was brought in, the market all but disappeared. We don't get clients from outside the city now. Business is down a lot. Some businesses are still hurting, and that's something Modi's opponents are capitalising on. They say his policies have disproportionately affected the poor. But the Prime Minister and his supporters say it's all in the past. Now it's up to India to decide.
Well, for more on the Indian election, let's bring in Amrita Narlikar. She is the president of the German Institute of Global and Area Studies in Hamburg, and she joins me via Skype. Good to have you with us, Amrita. Now, Prime Minister Modi swept into office with a strong mandate 5 years ago. Now, large parts of his voters seem disillusioned. How would you grade his first term in office?
Great to be with you. I would say that we need to look at Modi's record in a balanced way. So your report covered some of the very serious problems that have come from some of his policies, like demonetization, like the goods and services tax. But there have also been some important achievements. So, for example, ease of doing business index of the World Bank. India in 2014 ranked 134th in a group of 190 countries. And now India ranks 77th. And this is a big leapfrogging. Many of the reforms that Modi is trying to bring about have been difficult to implement, and there have been serious problems. But I would argue, you look at digitalization, when you look at improvements in formalizing some of the informal sectors, Modi has launched India in a good way.
But one of the most important issues, though, is getting enough jobs for an ever-growing society. Why is this strong GDP growth that we're seeing in the Indian economy not creating this required number of jobs?
Well, a lot more needs to be done in terms of industry, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of also catering to the needs of the farmers. So Modi has brought about huge improvements, for example, in the services sector. And India looked very different 5 years ago from what it looks like right now. But industry is lagging, and we are seeing a massive levels of migration from rural areas to urban areas. And unless India does something about its very weak industrial sector, and this is something that has been a problem for previous governments as well. Modi has been trying to fix it, but it's going to take a long time to fix. It's not going to happen overnight.
Now, I wonder, tensions with Pakistan over embattled Kashmir have been running high recently, and that's always a delicate and sensitive issue within the Indian society. I wonder, how important is it amid these news to have a look at your personal economic situation and have that influence your vote?
So the reaction to the situation with Pakistan and also India's strong response to the situation can swing in different ways. So in the northern states where Pakistan is closer, the threat is closer, Kashmir is closer, problems of terrorism have been directly experienced. The strong position that Modi showed might actually produce some wins. But India is really almost like Europe. It's a very diverse country, and there are diverse interests within the country. And so when you look at the South, I'm not so sure whether this would play out entirely in favor of Modi, where economic concerns might be more overwhelming than some of the nationalistic fervor, the patriotism that Modi managed to harness in relation to the recent crisis.
Amrita Narlikar of the German Institute of Global and Area Studies, thank you for talking to DW.
Thank you.